So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah! What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, yesterday we talked a lot about first-round selection Jahmyr Gibbs, how he's going to fit into the offense, why the pick might be better than a lot of people initially thought, just overall how the player in the pick is going to be graded out going into the 2023 season. However, the Lions did not make just one controversial pick in the first round, as they ended up making two, selecting off-ball linebacker Jack Campbell with the 18th overall selection in the 2023 NFL Draft. Now, this pick was not quite as hated on as the Jahmyr Gibbs pick, as Jack Campbell was pretty much the consensus linebacker one in this draft, but still, there was an argument about positional value. There's an argument about taking an off-ball linebacker with your second overall pick and taking an off-ball linebacker in the top 20 of the NFL Draft. Now, today, of course, as we did with Jahmyr Gibbs, we're going to go over the pick, kind of grade the pick, talk about what he does well, what he doesn't do so well, and why the Detroit Lions potentially made this selection. And then at the end, talk about the overall grade for this player going into rookie minicamp and overall training camp. So, starting off with his season last year. Last year, Jack Campbell in the 2022 season for the Hawkeyes led them in tackles with 125, had 5.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery. For being an off-ball linebacker, he was incredibly productive in the rushing attack. He was incredibly productive in the pass defense, and he was incredibly impactful at every single level of the defense, as you can see from his statistics. Now, his pros list is significantly bigger than his cons list. Starting off with the pros, his quickness is great. He has a really good get off. His 10-yard split was actually really good despite his 40-yard dash not being the greatest. He has a really good linebacker stance, which allows him to kind of get to the place where he needs to quicker than a lot of other linebackers. There is a really good video by Brett Coleman that I'll try to link down in the description below that talks about his linebacker stance and why it's kind of very unique, but helps him get to the spot very, very quickly. And it's something that not a lot of other young linebackers are good at doing. Now, on top of his quickness and his ability to get to the spot on time, his size is amazing. A 6'5" linebacker is going to fill gaps, is going to put players on the ground, and he is going to use that size every inch that he has to make plays on the football. His leadership ability is top notch. A lot of his teammates during the pre-draft process were told that, they couldn't stop talking about Jack Campbell, right? The Lions brought Lucas Van Ness in for a top 30 visit, and apparently all they talked about the whole time was Jack Campbell, because he was a leader. He was somebody that Lucas Van Ness just couldn't stop talking about in as far as being a leader, as far as being a good teammate. And I think that speaks volume of who he is as a football player. Now, going on to the coverage, the Lions have struggled in coverage, especially with their linebackers, for a long time. I think the last really good coverage linebacker they had was probably DeAndre Levy back in the early to mid 2010s, and he was never healthy to begin with. The Lions need a coverage linebacker. They need somebody who can take the football away through the air, needs somebody that can follow tight ends up the seams, needs somebody that can cut off passing windows in the intermediate passing game, and Jack Campbell can do that. His play recognition and coverage, his ability to read the quarterback's eyes and get in the right place is top-notch in this draft class from the linebacker perspective, and he's not just good at coverage. He is a phenomenal run support linebacker, always gets to the right spot, always gets to the right gap, and pretty much plays it like a running back, where he will shoot the gap before the running back most of the time, which ends up getting him a lot of tackles for losses and a lot of plays around the line of scrimmage to mitigate damage from the Iowa defense. And then, of course, we've talked about his play recognition. He is such a smart player. He sees plays develop so quickly. It helps him with run support, helps him in coverage, helps him be a leader. And with his quickness and play recognition, despite not being the fastest guy, which is really the only con that I have on him, he gets to the spot every single time when he needs to be there, and is always a player that is on time and at the right spot to make the right play. Now, Taking a look at his RAS score, he got a 9.98 RAS score. He graded elite in size at 6'4.5", 250 pounds. His agility grade was elite. His speed grade was considered great. Again, his 40-yard dash was average, but his 10-yard split was in the elite ranges. And then his explosiveness grade is also one of the top grades in this draft class. And my face cam is blocking, but I'll read you the numbers. His vertical jump of 37.5 inches and his broad jump of 10 feet 8 inches is, again, one of the top linebacker metrics ever measured at the NFL Combine. On top of that, he has 31.8-inch arms, which is almost the exact same length as Aiden Hutchinson. His hand size is 10.25, which isn't incredibly, isn't really a big deal, but I did want to mention it as well because those are measurables that some people take very seriously at the time. Now, taking a look at Jack Campbell as a football player, right? We talked about the pros. He is such a good football player, and I think would fit this defense so incredibly well. He's a player that will start in the middle, right? I think it will be him and Alex Anzalone on early downs. And I think Malcolm Rodriguez will get some rotation. And honestly, with the addition of Jack Campbell, I think the Lions could switch to more of a traditional 4-3 or even a 3-4 defense that has three linebackers on the field at the same time, right? They're pretty strong at the edge rushing class. They're pretty strong at the defensive line point right now. Their secondary is incredibly deep and incredibly talented. And their linebacking core is getting a little bit swept under the rug, right? It's getting a little bit kind of overshadowed by the other positions that have gotten so much attention this offseason. But Jack Campbell makes the linebacking core almost as respectable as the defensive line core, right? It's pretty deep now. Derek Barnes is a very good linebacker that I just don't think has ever really gotten a great opportunity in the NFL. But as far as a depth linebacker, now being your linebacker 4, he is a great player and a great value. Malcolm Rodriguez last year, a 6th-round selection that led pretty much all rookie linebackers in every single metric and was one of the biggest steals of the draft. Alex Anzalone, despite kind of getting a bad reputation, is one of the best linebackers on the team right now and was statistically one of the best linebackers in the NFL last year. And now you add Jack Campbell, the consensus linebacker one from this past draft, a player that will help you in run support, a player that will help you in coverage, a player that probably not day one, but probably starting next year will be a captain on the defense. And now you have the ability to play 3 linebackers because you're 4 or 5 linebackers deep, right? Jalen Reeves-Maybin is a very good special teams player as well, but can play a little bit of linebacker. You're pretty deep now at linebacker. You're pretty talented now at linebacker. So I think the Lions could potentially run more packages with 3 linebackers on the field, potentially run more run heavy sets on obvious rushing downs because now they have the personnel to do it. And that is all due to Jack Campbell. I honestly don't think Jack's going to come off the field at all. Captain Jack is already his nickname, and I don't think Captain Jack is going to be coming off the field anytime soon. Now, getting onto the final grade, I very much like Jahmyr Gibbs, give it a B+. I think that he is the consensus linebacker 1, and where Jahmyr Gibbs was probably the consensus running back 2, there is no argument that Jack Campbell is the best linebacker in this class. And yeah, you can argue that positional value of taking an off-ball linebacker in the first round is a little bit shaky. You can argue that the decision-making was a little bit off, but the Bills would have taken him if he was available with their pick, so he would not have made it out of the first round regardless. And if you know that's going to happen, why settle for the second linebacker? Why settle for a significantly lesser prospect when you could go out and get Jack Campbell with the 18th overall selection? A linebacker with no clear weakness, a linebacker that fits the defense perfectly, and a linebacker that just is the best player in the draft. Now, again, off-ball linebacker is not a premier position. It is not a valuable position as far as just the overall overlook of the position, right? Off-ball linebackers don't affect the game like edge rushers. They don't affect the game like cornerbacks. They don't affect the games, even essentially like safeties sometimes in the deep passing game, taking away that like Kirby Joseph did a season ago. But the Lions needed a linebacker. It was, I think, arguably their biggest need on defense was somebody that can help support the run, somebody that can help take away the pass, and somebody in the linebacking core that is just a bona fide star. And that is what Jack Campbell is. So based on the positional value, it wasn't a very good pick. Based on the player that they got, a day one starting linebacker, I don't know if the Lions could have addressed a need better in round 1 than what they did with Jack Campbell. So overall, I give it a B+, very much teetering on the A-. I think you could move it up to an A- and not even bat an eye at it because, again, it's the biggest position of need at the time, and you got the best player at your biggest position of need. So Yes, you could bump it up to an A plus. I think just to be fair, trying to take as much bias out of it as possible, I will leave it at a B plus. But overall, not a bad selection by the Detroit Lions. This is a day one starter, a linebacker one with no true weakness, and he will be the first Detroit Lions elite linebacker in a very, very long time. So with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys right now. That is the Lions' newest linebacker in Jack Campbell. If you enjoyed the video and you're still sticking around, make sure you go down below and subscribe to the channel. It helps out a ton. If you like the video, that would help me out a lot as well. You can always hit the bell notification so that you never miss a daily Detroit Lions upload. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys right now. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think about Jack Campbell, what you think about the pick, the player, the position, and everything to do with this pick. But with that being said, thank you all so very much for watching. And until next time, and as always, go Lions!